WT6 meteorologist Brad Sugden on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Schrock Innovations presents Nebraska's #1 independent computer repair company with offices in Omaha and Lincoln. This is Compute This.
Alrighty, good morning, folks, and welcome into Compute This. My name's Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company with 3 service centers. One in Omaha, 168th and Burke. The original in Lincoln, 27th and Pine Lake Road, and in Papillion, the, for now, on the corner of 72nd and Highway 370. But coming this fall, we will be relocating the Papillion Service Center to 84th and Highway 370. Brand new building, brand new look, brand new service center with some seriously updated technology. We're talking the new Papillion Service Center is going to be the template for Schrock service centers moving forward. It's like the Tony Stark basement of service centers. I mean, this thing is nuts, the stuff we're putting in there. So that's coming soon here. We're looking for a November open there, hopefully. And, of course, there'll be much fanfare as well. All right, 866-496-8772. Those are the numbers to join you on the program today. Ask a question, make a comment. We'll put you in the drawing for a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Anything you want to ask, you can ask it right here. You can also ask it on Facebook, where we are broadcasting live at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. All right, we're looking for Winston, the unofficial audio technician of Schrock Innovations, to somebody asked me the other day, does Winston your producer? So Winston, I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like your credibility is going up, the weight is coming up on you here. But basically, if my audio levels are good, let me know, and if not, we'll make some adjustments here as well for Facebook. Last week we had the closest thing to a technological, I won't say disaster, but yeah, it was a good Charlie Foxtrot for sure. But basically what we had going on was I was trying to do Facebook posting and record the show and do the Facebook live stream and actually do the show at the same time, responding to people, everything, way too much. So we have a special guest in studio. Mark from Schrock Interactive is here to help me out with the Facebook side of things a little bit so I can focus on working with you guys rather than, typing and doing all this other stuff. So if anything goes wrong with the show today, it is totally Mark's fault. All right? 866-496-8772. Those are the numbers to join us on the program. Now, you guys remember a few weeks back, there was a nasty, nasty virus called the WannaCry virus. And why did they call it that? No, the WannaCry virus was a virus that was spreading just dramatically. It used the most, wide open of those NSA exploits that were available on, from the leak on WikiLeaks or whatever. So this guy got together, got all this nasty stuff, and launched this thing out. And this one malware researcher, who there was no record of him ever discovering or finding anything in the past. Now, maybe that's a good malware researcher. It's like you don't hear about detectives every day at the police station that solve all these crimes, right? That doesn't mean they're bad detectives. That just means, they're doing their job and they're not like out in the front, because if you're out in the front, you can't do your job. So maybe this guy was just doing his job. I don't know. But apparently he was looking through the WannaCry code, and he saw in the code where it said, hey, there's this website, the Command and Control website. And he thought, Command and Control website. Command, Control. Those things are kind of important. I wonder if anybody's reserved that domain yet. Because it was some big, long .com domain. I mean, it was like junk. So he goes and he pops open his GoDaddy and checks, and sure enough, no one has reserved .com. So he says, I'm going to reserve it. And he does. And the act of simply reserving the domain was the kill key to shut down WannaCry. Boom. Done. Off. Over. Save the world. It was like I don't know what the 4th of July, that movie with Will Smith, the president's on the airplane wing giving this speech to the alcoholic pilot that's going to fly up there and blow up the ship for his family. That you had that feeling. It was a good family moment there. Anyway, he stops the whole thing. So they were having a malware research convention basically in Nevada, which is just a reason for a bunch of computer nerds to get together in Nevada. And I mean, they could totally do this online. They don't need a convention with keynotes and stuff like that. That's so the old model. Why on earth would any bunch of nerds want to have an excuse to all get together in Nevada, of all places, in the middle of the desert? Really? Yeah. Well, anyway, they all got together, and so they had a great convention. He was there to talk about what he did with WannaCry, and he attended some other keynotes and things, and so then he turns around to leave. On the way out, he gets arrested by the FBI at the airport. And they're saying, yeah, you are also responsible for the Kronos virus that is a banking Trojan. So what a banking Trojan does is it sits on your computer and it waits for you to log into your bank account, and it records your username and password information. Once it has that information, same thing with your retirement accounts and other things. A lot of people don't think that, why would anybody want to get into my Charles Schwab account? They can't take any money out, right? But they can change your investment allocation. What happens when thousands of people change your investment allocation simultaneously? That could drive stock prices in a direction, right? What if you happen to have a side bet, an option, if you will, on whether you thought a certain category of stock was going to go up or down? Well, yeah, there you go. So these banking Trojans, they want access to your banking information to either directly steal money from you or to create circumstances that are conducive to the theft of money, okay? So they say that this guy's responsible for it. And why is he responsible for it? What is the evidence that they had? Now, he may be totally responsible for it. I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about him. He's a quote-unquote, air quotes here, malware researcher. I don't know what that means. Sometimes the best people to catch criminals are criminals. We were talking about this in the service center. But you remember this, Mark. We were talking about this. We're like, have you seen the movie Catch Me If You Can? That's a great movie. And then we were talking about it, and, Kevin, who's our resident Canadian, he was like, oh, hey, I think I've seen that. And then all of a sudden, he's like, yeah, I've seen that. Okay, great. And he's like, is that the movie where he was taking the little Delta decals off the airplanes and putting them on checks? And, oh, yeah, then he was printing money in Germany because, he couldn't cash the checks. They were on to him, and they arrested him. And he was like, oh, wow. And I'm like, the weirdest part is that's a true story. Or it's based on a true story. You know how Hollywood is. It's based on a true story. It was? Yeah, that guy really existed, and he really did a lot of that stuff. Whoa. All of a sudden, mind blown. Same thing here. This dude, what he does is research malware for a living. Look at what he did with WannaCry. He reserved the domain that was the command and control. Now, he didn't just get lucky. This is a standard operating procedure for this guy, because if you have the command and control server and the virus phones home for instructions, you can see how the virus is phoning home for instructions, how it expects to receive the instructions, and then in some cases, you can actually give it instructions like, hey, turn off, or hey, go target Russia instead. You can do these things, right? So the FBI arrests this guy, says he's involved with the banking Trojan, and the evidence that what they released anyway to the public was that he owns several of the domains that are used as command and control domains by this server. Isn't that what he does for a living? So yeah, he's out on bail. This may have been like a classic case of the government is too smart by half and can't keep up with, normal tech and things like that, the tech world that's out there. So I don't know if this guy's a hero still, or if he's a villain, or if he's just like a misunderstood, or if he's more like Deadpool. I have no idea, where he falls in the spectrum of superheroes or the Tick. I don't know. But needless to say, he's in trouble. So if you were considering a career, like you see those TV ads, are you considering a career in information technology security? Information technology security has the highest demand of any incoming, look at this guy. This is what happens when you go to ITT Tech. All right, 866-496-8772. That's the number to call into the program today. Ask a question, make a comment. We'll get you in the drawing for that $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate, of which we have no calls at this point. So when you guys jump on Facebook and you say, oh, Thor, I wish you would really, talk less and take more calls. Well, this is why I'm talking more, right? I literally have 2 good stories today. What's the other one, you ask? Well, I can't give it to you right now. Okay, if you insist. All right, so here's the deal. There is a fall update coming for Windows. Why is this significant? All right, there's been a lot of questions around Windows 10 and updates, primarily because the whole world has changed. So we're all used to a world where we have Windows updates. So you have the Windows operating system, and then you get an update, which is like a little patch or a Band-Aid or like a little add-on, just a little extra piece of code that you stick in there, and it plugs some vulnerability like a cork, and then everything is golden, right? That's not always the case. What's happening now with Windows is Microsoft has moved to a model that's very much like Apple. And so what you have is a situation where Microsoft says, all right, we're going to put the Windows operating system on your computer. We'll give it to you for free. And then the next version of Windows, there's never going to be a Windows 11, right? We have Windows 10 now. Eventually, it's just going to be Windows. They're going to just drop the number, and it's going to be I have Windows. But they have to get people to that point first. And so what they're going to do to get people to that point is they are going to very slowly over time start convincing you that the version of Windows that you have isn't so important, because you're going to have right now you have Windows 10 and there's not going to be an 11. So now you're going to get an update. That's great. It's not a little tiny patch anymore. Now the Windows update is a whole new operating system. So the entire operating system is brand new. There is an entire new one. So that's a problem. So every time that you get a new update for Windows, it installs a completely new operating system. So you're upgrading basically every time you get a Windows update. So that's a problem. How is that a problem? All right, here's what's going on. Every time you get a Windows update, it's an upgrade. So you're literally moving aside your old operating system, installing a new operating system, and then transferring all of your documents, files, programs, everything to the new operating system. As we all know, requirements change between operating systems for different software programs. One piece of software is set up to work one way, and then suddenly it works a different way. We've seen this with Semantic Endpoint. We've been on top of it, but we've had some versions of Endpoint that haven't taken well to upgrades, and we've had to fix them for customers. So here's the situation. This is closer to what Microsoft used to call a service pack than an update. Service packs don't exist anymore either. A service pack, they push out all the updates, and then a service pack was all the updates pushed together and released at one time, and they were all tested for compatibility. Otherwise, you had a patch that caused another problem that required a second patch that caused a third problem that required a third patch, and you get the point. If we could just do it right and not need any patches, wouldn't life be wonderful? So that's what they're trying to do. As a result, we've had a number of customers that have come in not once, not twice, but 3 times now. Every time they get a major Windows update, like what's coming in September, they end up in our service center with some kind of a problem that's costing them an hour of labor to fix, or more in some cases, and it's not an optimal situation, and it's creating some animosity from customers toward Microsoft, to be honest. Unfortunately, Microsoft, this is the way everybody else does it, and so Microsoft is just coming in line with the way everybody else already does everything. As a result, this is how life is going to be. So we can be upset about it, we can cry about it, we can whine about it, we can talk about how unfair life is. But as Mom and Dad used to say, oh, I know, I see it, Jody, I see it. On Facebook, Jody's posting angry, frowny faces. I see it, Jody. But as Mom used to say, that's life. So what are we going to do about it? So this is my question for you this morning, and I honestly want your opinion. I have not made a decision one way or the other. I floated an email to my staff asking for their opinion, but I want to hear your opinion on this as well. 866-496-8772. Let me know if we should run some kind of a special or something where you could bring your computer into the service center and have us install the Fall Creators Update. And when we install the Fall Creators Update, if everything goes well, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I'm thinking like $40, $45, something like that. I mean, less than an hour of labor, so you're saving some money, but it has to be enough of a price that I can afford to pay the technicians who are doing the work. But we could have you come in with the computer. We could do the update for you, and if something goes sideways, then we would fix it for free. And if everything goes great, then everything goes great, and you're happy with that. So this is a thought. We haven't done this for a long time. I think the last time we did this was like Service Pack 3 for Windows 7. Where we said there's a big service pack coming out. Do you want us to install it? Because, if you have a hard drive that's failing, for example, these updates don't work well. They don't ever work. If you have a virus on your computer, these updates will always break. So if you're doing everything right and you have Drive Advisor installed, we'll talk about Drive Advisor here on the program in a little bit. If you have your Windows all up to date, if you have your semantic endpoint and your secure update are running and everything is current and everything is virus-free, most of the time these updates go fine. Of course, if you're like me, you're like that one guy that buys a lottery ticket, except, every time you buy an actual lottery, I never win. I stop playing. I don't even win the dollar back. Not that you can buy a lottery ticket for $1 anymore. Who else has noticed that? Like, their signs say, it just takes $1. I challenge you to find a $1 lottery ticket. I'll give you a free lottery ticket if you can find a $1 lottery ticket. Mega Millions is $1? Mega Millions. Come on, that's chump change. Who needs Mega Millions? All right, 866-496-8772. Mark's like, I'll take it. Don't I pay you enough already? 866-496-8772. What I want to know is I want you to let me know. You can also let me know on Facebook, facebook.com/rockinnovations. Just tell me if you're interested in an idea like that. If that's something that would bring you the peace of mind of knowing, hey, if I bring my computer in, I could have Schrock do the update, and then if anything goes wrong or there's a problem, Schrock will fix it. And if everything goes right, that's wonderful. That's why I brought it in. So let me know, 866-496-8772. All right, so in the service centers this week, the benches in all 3 service centers are now out of queue. We're recovering from the preventative maintenance checkup sale. So that is your queue if you'd like to start bringing in those preventative maintenance checkup certificates that you purchased. This would be a good time to do that. The Papillion Service Center is just barely out of queue. So their bench is still pretty full, but it's coming down. The Omaha Service Center is well out of queue. So if you're looking for a good turnaround time and you have one of those preventative maintenance checkup certificates, the Omaha Service Center is the place to be in Omaha. In Lincoln, the Lincoln Service Center is out of queue as well. They've got available laptop and desktop spots. So everything should be good to go there as well. So you can check it out in the service centers and bring that in if you'd like there. What are preventative maintenance checkup certificates? Preventative maintenance checkup certificates are certificates that people buy on our website at SchrockInnovations.com. That I think the deadline for it was last week, but you buy it at Schrock when we have a special on, and they're good for 6 months. You can use them anytime in the next 6 months. So if you purchased one of these, say in February, let's see, February is month 2. March, April, May, June, July, August. Oh my goodness, 6 months is August. That means if you bought one in like February, you're expiring right now. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So if you bought one in February, you really need to get it in now because when they expire, they expire. These are not gift certificates. They're coupons. They can expire and they do expire. So I'm going to tell you, if you bought one of these in February, don't willy-nilly, dilly-dally try to guess when you bought it on the 1st or the 15th or whatever. Get into the shop. Get it done. Get checked in. Get it done. If you have one that you just purchased during the recent sale, there's no rush to come in. I'm just saying if this is a good time for you to come in, now is a great time for us. We have open bench spots and we can get you all taken care of, especially in the Papillion Service Center because later in the fall, like I mentioned earlier in the program, fall, September area, it's going to be a little more challenging because we're going to be actually moving the service center. All right, 402, see? Oh, I made it a third of the way through the show. 866-496-8772. Those are the numbers to call the program today. And that's what Ed has done. We're going to take a quick break. Ed, please hang with us through the break. When we come back, we'll take your call. And also Loanne's question on Facebook coming up next on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations can't teleport technicians to you, but online help is only a click away with the Schrock Desk. Subscribe today and get unlimited help whenever you need it. Some people like desktops for their power and upgradability, but nothing rivals a laptop for computing on the go. But why should you have to sacrifice performance for portability? The innovators at Schrock want our customers to have it all, so we created a new kind of laptop, the solid-state laptop from Schrock Innovations. Solid-state laptops are built using the same frame and mainboards as regular laptops, but we've removed half of the moving parts while more than doubling the computer's speed. The result? Laptops that boot to Windows in 6 seconds or less, respond instantly to your commands, and can survive drops that put most laptops into the data recovery lab. Starting at only $499, solid-state laptops give you speed, reliability, durability, and performance for the same price most people pay for a cheap disposable laptop. The next time you're looking for a laptop, check out the solid-state laptops at SchrockInnovations.com or visit any of our service centers. Simple, solid, fast technology is what we do at Schrock. Compute This Pro Tip 299. There are enough mothballed computers in U.S. homes to give one to every man, woman, and child in the country.
Many of these computers find their way into landfills where they can leak cadmium, lithium, and other nasty chemicals into the groundwater. Schrock Innovations is very proud of the fact that we recycle more e-waste every year than we create. You can drop off any old or broken computer equipment to our service centers at any time, free of cost. We only charge $15 just for monitors because they are especially difficult to process. No appointment is required, and we accept all computer-related equipment like printers, keyboards, speakers, and accessories. Additionally, the rare earth elements in computers can be recycled right here in the U.S. to reduce our reliance on supplies from foreign countries. Take a moment, drop off your old computer equipment today, and Schrock will make sure it's properly recycled and put to good use right here in the U.S. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Nothing like dogs barking in the morning to wake you up. All right, welcome back into Compute This, guys. My name's Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. They're those dogs again. They just never... 866-496-8772. Those are the numbers to join us on the program this morning. Schrock Innovations is, of course, the company that you turn to for your computer repairs, new computers, both desktops, laptops, Windows tablets. Also, we do data recovery. We don't talk about that a ton on the show because... nobody wants to talk about data. It's like talking about that rash. Just nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But stuff fails, guys. Phones fail. We have 2 phones right now in the Sonic Cleaner that are getting cleaned up. Hard drives fail all the time. That's why we made Drive Advisor. I told you we'd talk about Drive Advisor here on the program. If you haven't, I was talking with Alfonso because I'm like, I don't understand this, Alfonso. We're talking about Drive Advisor here, and it's like no matter how much I talk about it on the radio. I don't get like a bunch of new installations. Like we're installing it on people's computers in the service center with people coming in for the maintenance check and they don't have Drive Advisor, so we're installing it for them. And Alfonso, in his like cool, logical way, so there's a little Vulcan thing there. Of course, Thor, it's probably because you're reaching the same people every radio show. Like, not helping, Alfonso. But nevertheless, Drive Advisor is a free program that you can download from driveadvisor.com. Drive Advisor, like American. Drive Advise ER. Because Drive Advise OR is very British and very taken, which is the real reason we didn't use it. It was already reserved, probably by that malware researcher guy. I'm just joking. It's not malware, guys. Come on. DriveAdvisor.com is a free program. There is no revenue model. There's no pop-up ads. There's no junk emails from it. All it does is it tells you if your hard drive is going bad. It monitors your hard drive in real time, and if it detects that your hard drive is starting to fail, it will go ahead and send you an email and pop up on your screen. So it does ask for your email address, but the only reason it asks for your email address is so it can alert you if something is wrong with your drive. So check out Drive Advisor so you can make Alfonso a liar. And then, if you have this kind of stuff on your computer, your Windows updates are likely to work good because when you have all this stuff secured, everything is okay. Now, on the other hand, if you're someone like Ed, welcome to the program. I understand Ed didn't have such a smooth experience with the last Windows update. That's Ed on 1. Yeah, we'll get to you in a second, Ed. We're taking message. Ed on 1. Welcome to the program, Ed. How can I help you on Compute This?
So I upgraded a week ago, something, and it's about 4 minutes to that in there.
Hey, Ed, I'm having a real tough time hearing you. I was hoping it would clear up in a second there, but because you held for so long, can you stand up straight?
Yeah, I'm. Okay, can you hear me good now?
I can. I tell you to pull up your antenna, but those were always dummy antennas in those old Motorola phones. They didn't actually work.
Okay, how about now?
You're much better, Ed.
Okay, about a week and a half ago, I got this here Windows 10 Creator update.
Yes.
And it took about 45 minutes to download and everything, and I restarted my computer and everything. I seen a few little new things, but what it did is screwed my endpoint up.
Yes, it did.
And,
for some people, it did.
So then I gave Kyle a call, and he straightened it out for me and stuff. So is it going to be a different one than that in September? Or?
Oh, yeah. See, the Creators update was released like 3 months ago.
Oh,
You just finally got it because then they don't push it out to everybody right away. So when I say there's an update coming in September, some people are going to get it in September. Some people will get it in October. Some people will get it in November. Some in December. But we can actually trigger the update and tell the computer to do the update. And then it'll immediately just, so like when you guys were in for preventative maintenance checks, if you didn't have the creators update, we triggered it and told it to happen because that's part of a checkup is getting all your updates done. Now, granted, we're not going to be having a maintenance checkup special in September. And so then it would be, if you come in for a maintenance checkup, it's like $90. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just me. I'm saying if you're coming in to have us install an update for $90, that might be a little overkill, you know, especially if you just had a maintenance check.
So anyway, I'd be in favor of that $40 or $45 to install that new thing because I don't want no problems with my computer. I just hate that kind of crap.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I'd be willing to pay that amount, you know, to have you guys do it right.
All right, so we have 40, 45. Do I hear 50? 50, 55, 60.
But anyway, the gal up in front in Omaha, I think her name's Summer.
It is, yeah. In the fall, we're going to have to fire her.
Yeah, oh, no, she's a real good gal. She knows her stuff.
Awesome. Well, I will pass that on to her. I'll tell you said that. She is an amazing employee. I don't know what we would do in Omaha without Summer some days, I'm for sure. So, all right, Ed, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. We will put you in the yes category over here. The phone number to join us, that opens up a line because they're all full now. You can get, there's one open, 866-496-8772. All right, Loanne on Facebook asked, what if you live out of state, like she's in Michigan? If I'm in Michigan, can you do this over the Schrock desk? And that's an interesting question. We're getting to the point here where the Schrock desk is such a valuable tool. If you're not aware of the Schrock desk, it allows us to administer tech support remotely. So basically, some people subscribe to it for $30 a month, and you get unlimited support. So that's not just if something breaks. Like, for example, this creator's update, if you had Schrock desk, you could call us up if you were a subscriber and say, I would like you to do the creator's update for me. And we would do it. And if something goes wrong that would make you bring the computer in, if something went terribly wrong, when you have a Schrock desk subscription, all other labor services are half price. So what that means is, like, if you you don't have to wait for a maintenance checkup sale. That's a labor service. You get half price maintenance checkups anytime you want them. If you have to come in for an hour of labor to have something done, that's half price labor service. If you want a data transfer because you're buying a new computer, that's a labor service. That's half price. So you literally in a year, if you have a subscription to the Schrock desk at $30 a month, you will, if you have one incident a year, you will make that back off maintenance checkups in the one incident easily. And if you have other things that happen, then you've got that half price coverage there as well. So if you are out of state, I don't know, if you're out of state, give us a shout on Facebook. I'd love to hear that. We'll give you a shout out over the airwaves here because, a terrestrial shout out in Nebraska means a lot to you in Michigan. But hey, it's the thought that counts, right? Basically if you want us to do it over the Schrock desk, I'm not opposed to the idea of trying over the Schrock desk. The thing that makes us afraid to do that when people are geographically remote and we have no service center in your area, if we do the update, we can cross all of our T's, dot all of our I's. Computer is virus-free. Drive Advisor says the hard drive is great. Everything is good to go. Maybe we even make a backup to your external hard drive that you have hooked up to the computer before we start, just in case something goes wrong. But if something does go wrong, we can't remote into a computer that doesn't boot into Windows. We cannot boot into a computer that doesn't load Windows, which means we can't do the Schrock desk, which means you're dead in the water. So there is a degree of risk, whereas in the service center, we can say if something goes wrong, we'll cover it for free. If your computer won't boot, we have no way to cover it. So we can't cover it at all, let alone for free. Let me talk to my staff on that one, Joanna, and find out what they feel or how they feel about that. If they think it's something, if it's a risk that's acceptable, because sometimes we'll tell customers about these risks and they'll say, oh yeah, no. It's like you're going in for surgery. There's like a 1% chance that, we're going to cut the wrong organ out of your body and leave a sponge in there. So, just heads up. And they're like, oh, I'm sure that won't happen to me. And then all of a sudden you're SpongeBob. And you how did this happen to me? Where's my spleen? That's unfortunate. So also Jeffrey, as I promised, a terrestrial shout out to Jeffrey in Las Vegas, who witnessed the arrest of the malware researcher that discovered the WannaCry virus. I don't know why you were at the casino that day or the airport, but No, Jeffrey didn't witness it. He didn't say that. But I'm just putting words in his mouth. Welcome to the program, Jeffrey from Las Vegas. All right. 866-496-8772. Let's jump back into those phones. Ken, you're next up on the program. How can I help you today on Compute This?
I'm trying to get my pictures into my computer
Okay.
after Windows 10. I have 3 digital cameras, a flip phone that's less than 6 months old, a Hero 3, and an older Kodak camera.
You are teched up.
Well, I've got tech brothers, and I also have like 3 Schrock computers.
Okay.
But they're all over 5 years old, so
Whoop, whoop.
I think what I understand here is all I need is to buy a brand new computer, and the wife says, just buy a brand new phone and get over it. So I think I'm pressing the wrong buttons, and every time I listen to you, Schrock, it's confusing, upgrades, a little bit of information. For a person over 68, kind of confuses the situation, if you understand.
I do. All right, so here's the deal. First of all, no matter what camera you have, even if it's an old flip phone, when you plug that into the computer's USB port, the computer should respond. It should tell you, bing bong, something got plugged in. Is it doing that?
Your volume just dropped out.
My volume dropped out or your volume dropped out?
Well, either my hearing dropped out, but my flip phone was loud, and
All right. Well, let's take a quick break here, Ken. We'll see if we can't get that signal resolved here real quick. Stay on the line, and we'll take care of this here right after we come back from the break. All right. So Ken, Doug, Dale, Stephanie, stay on the line. More of Compute This coming up next.
If you can dream it, Schrock Interactive's website developers can make it happen. Refresh your website, automate sales and marketing, and grow your business today with Schrock Interactive. Every person listening to this broadcast has either experienced data loss or knows someone who has. When you think about it, you have a lot more data stored in many more places than you'd like to admit. Have you downloaded those videos from your phone, backed up the pictures on your iPad, or even tackled that sometimes daunting task of backing up your entire computer's hard drive? Most people just don't back up their stuff, and that's why Schrock Innovations has one of the most advanced data recovery centers in the Midwest. Equipped with the latest DDI data imaging devices, state-of-the-art custom recovery software, and Omaha's best data recovery technicians, Schrock Innovations has a 96.8% success rate when recovering data from damaged hard drives, flash drives, camera cards, and more. We all know we should back up our data, but if you are ever caught in a data loss nightmare, call the experts at Schrock Innovations to get your data back right where it belongs, safe and backed up on a stable hard drive. Compute This Pro Tip 843. Of all computer failures, the scariest and most expensive is the hard drive. But there are some steps you can take to save money and save your data before it's too late. Detecting failures early is important, so install a free utility like Drive Advisor from driveadvisor.com to monitor your hard drive's health and receive warnings when there's a problem. But most of all, hard drive failures happen slowly, so early detection is key to reducing the repair bill. Second, if your hard drive makes any unusual noises, immediately turn off your computer and do not turn it on again. These issues are physical problems, and the more you try to use it, the worse the damage becomes. Remember that most computer repair shops do not have the specialized equipment needed to recover data from a failed drive. Never open your drive or allow anyone else to do so. Open drives always cost more to recover. Schrock does not charge for data recovery evaluations and quotes, so let the local pros look at your drive before you make any recovery decisions. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
The UN Security Council passing tougher sanctions on North Korea Saturday. Today at a summit in the Philippines, the U.S. is working to isolate the rogue regime even further.
The U.S. is pushing Southeast Asian countries to expel North Korea from a regional forum, as the group, known as ASEAN, hosts a summit here in Manila. Total expulsion is not happening anytime soon, but the Allied nations did condemn Kim Jong-un and his ongoing ballistic missile and nuclear test in a joint resolution. Connor Finnegan, ABC News, Manila, Philippines.
Marine Corps officials say the search for 3 missing U.S. Marines off the Australian coast has turned from a rescue mission to a recovery effort. The 3 were among 26 passengers on board an Osprey aircraft that went into the water. Investigators are trying to find anything they can from the aircraft that crashed, especially the data recorder. The Osprey belongs to a unit based out of Okinawa, Japan. Today, Japan's defense minister is calling on the U.S. to refrain from flying the Osprey until they know the cause. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Now, the News Radio 1110 KFAB Weather Watch.
We're kicking off the start of the morning with some mostly cloudy skies that are likely to carry us into the afternoon. Temperatures will climb to 78 degrees, but we cannot rule out the possibility for an isolated sprinkle to develop for those counties north and west of the metro this afternoon. With Omaha's most accurate weather team, I'm WOWT 6 meteorologist Peter Sherwood on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back into Compute This. 866-496-8772. Those are the numbers to join us on the show. Wanted to give you a heads up. We are broadcasting live right now, streaming on Facebook at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. You can watch the show for what it's worth there. You can also listen to it now. We're experimenting with another setup here. I mentioned earlier in the show that I have my sidekick Mark here, who's not an official sidekick yet. He's still trying out, okay? He's not sure he wants to get up this early every morning like we all do. And I'm, so far, I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff. So you can say hi to Mark on Facebook. He's chatting you up there while I'm talking, so I don't have to try to talk and type at the same time. We're also added another computer into the mix to do recording in a different place. I won't get you into the weeds here, but usually during the commercial breaks, if you're watching on Facebook, I used to cut the microphone on my laptop and go to my local microphone, and then we would just chat about whatever. And, there's no FCC. We can talk about whatever we want. And then we come back on the air, and I switch back, and we go live. So it's kind of interesting. So we're going to see if we can bring that back by throwing another computer in the mix, because there's some technical reasons why we can't do that anymore. But if you stay tuned after the program today, last week we had a technical debacle with the Aftershock. It was a mess. I was watching the video from that, Mark, and I looked like a confused, lost little deer in the woods. Like, what's going on? My technology world is melting around me. It's so sad. But I think we may have figured out what button I pressed to do that this last time and become all space alien voice on you. Not sure, though, so we'll figure that out. And we're going to try to do the Aftershock, so stay tuned on Facebook if you are there. All right, 866-496-8772. Let's jump back into Ken. All right, Ken, so I understand you have an assortment of technology devices, all of which have cameras attached to them, and you're trying to get the pictures from the devices into the computer. Is that correct?
Yes. So I can put them into my printer and print them out. I can store them in my cameras, but I can't transfer them to my computer.
All right, let's start with one device. Let's start with that wonderful flip phone. When you plug that into the computer, what happens?
I haven't done it for a couple of weeks, so
That's all right. Does the computer react at all? Does it ding or?
It notices on the screen that there's an additional device.
Okay, good. That's a good first step.
Basically, that's about as far as I get.
Okay.
And then when I go to pictures or something else, I get the pictures that are stored in my computer, like stuff I printed for probably 3 years ago or even. Because basically that's what I've got anyway.
That's all right. No, I think I know what's going on, Ken. All right, so you have Windows 10 now, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's been upgraded and taken back to Schrock a couple times for a blue screen.
Okay, well, we'll get you covered there. Now, here's the thing. With Windows 10, unlike Windows 7 or Windows 8, when you plug in a flash drive or something external, it doesn't pop up and say, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to open it up in Photos? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? When you plug in the drive in Windows 10, it just installs it as a drive. So when you plug in your camera, it actually installs it like it's a hard drive. So if you click on that file folder at the bottom of the screen to open up the File Explorer, and you click on this PC on the left, it'll give you a list of all the devices, all the drives that are hooked up to your computer. And you'll notice there's a couple new removable drives when you plug in your cameras. Those are your cameras, and they work just like any other external hard drive. You can copy the photos off. You can move them off. And they're usually, if in the camera phones, they're going to be in the DCIM folder. That's where all the phones save their stuff, in the DCIM folder. What does DCIM stand for anyway? I don't know. But anyway, they're in the DCIM folder. And so when you go there, find that DCIM folder, and then go ahead and copy them or move them out of that folder to get everything going there. Now, if that doesn't work for some reason, it's possible that the computer doesn't know how to install the particular device that you have. If that's the case, Ken, the device is probably too old for Windows 10, or it requires a special driver, a piece of software from the website of the manufacturer. So given all that stuff, go ahead and try each device and see which ones you can see. If you open up that File Explorer window, when you plug the devices in, they should pop up as removable storage devices, and you should be able to copy or cut and paste the pictures out of those into your pictures folder. Once they're in your pictures folder, then you can print them, do everything you normally used to doing with them. Thank you very much for the call, Ken. We do have you in the drawing for a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate as well. 866-496-8772. Moving on through those phone lines. Dale, you're next up on the program. How can I help you today on Compute This?
Hi.
Hi, Dale.
I'm going to take you off the speaker. I'm sorry about that.
No sweat. I was like, wow, there's a heck of a hum in the background there. Like, do you work in a power plant, Dale?
Yeah, sometimes I think I do.
I don't know if you're going to have children. That's pretty terrible.
I already had them.
Oh, okay, you're done. That's why they stationed you down there. I get it.
At this point, I don't really care. So, just touch on briefly with that last guy caller. There are some phones out there. In fact, Verizon's selling one now on the prepaid side, an LG. I think it's called a Revere flip phone.
Yep.
That you cannot tether to a computer. It won't do anything.
Yep, and
So
that's a throwback phone.
What's that?
It's a throwback phone because there's actually a lot of seniors, especially, that don't want smartphones. They just don't want them. They don't want touchscreens. They want tactile buttons, and they don't want the phone to do anything but call people.
That's kind of where I'm heading. But anyway, that one, the only way you could transfer it was Bluetooth to a computer.
Such a nightmare.
That does work. But yeah, it actually worked really good. They have what they call a virtual serial Bluetooth.
Yep.
So, but anyway, that's kind of where I'm heading. I am really fed up with devices nowadays. You know, you put out good money for these devices. They work fine. They do an upgrade, and then you got problems. You spend hours. Nobody knows for sure what they tell you to do, a reset or take it to Best Buy, and I live 2.5 hours from a close Best Buy.
Where are you calling from, by the way, Dale?
What?
Where are you calling from?
Northeast Nebraska.
Okay, gotcha.
My question is with I have a smartphone, which I'm about ready to get rid of. The started out with Lollipop Android system, and it did upgrades, and then it finally upgraded to Marshmallow. Well, the upgrades, some of them, I fought a Bluetooth issue that I really used Bluetooth a lot. It worked fine until the upgrade. I ended up doing a factory reset on the phone after the upgrade.
Right.
And tell you what, after it upgraded to Marshmallow, that new operating system, it just literally works like crap. So
Yes.
is there a way of preventing these updates? And it really irritates me because I'll look at the phone, and right now I got 20 new updates pending that if I can catch it, I clear it off the screen, and I've been trying to avoid it. But is there some setting somewhere that you know of that you can prevent these upgrades?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Dale. Now, here's the thing. With Android specifically, you might notice at Schrock that we still carry Windows 10 tablets, but we no longer carry Android tablets. The reason for that is because the Android tablets are actually problematic in that if you don't keep them up to date, Google is now cutting off access to the store. So if you don't keep your tablet up to date with the current iteration, or at least within 2 iterations of current, you will have no access at all to the Play Store. Nothing. Zip, zilch, nada, nothing. And so as a result, if you have an older device like what you have, and you continue to upgrade the operating system over and over and over again, what ends up happening is eventually you just run out of gas. You're asking the phone to do more and more and more and more, and it just doesn't have any more resources. It has the same processor, the same amount of memory. There's no way to upgrade it, and there's no way to take a load off. Now, as far as the updates go, you can choose not to do the updates on a phone. It'll keep asking you to do them over and over again, but you can choose not to do them. But then eventually, your phone becomes a worthless brick, because if you don't do the upgrades, they're giving you the upgrades for security reasons and new features and whatnot. With Windows, on the other hand, Windows 10, you cannot turn off the updates. You will get them, regardless of whether you want them or not. You will get the updates. That's the bargain you're making with Microsoft in order to have the most recent version of Windows at all times on your device. You never have to pay for updates again. So there you go. So you can't turn it off on your computer, which is why we were asking, do you want us to put a special together for $45 or something like that, where you could bring the computer in, or if you're local, we might even be able to do it over the Schrock desk, where we do the update for you, and if something goes wrong, then we take care of it. And if it goes right, yay, it went right because we were there. Because if you would have done it, it'd have gone wrong. All right, 866-496-8772. Doug and Stephanie, stay on the lines. Your calls are coming up next on Compute This.
Drive Advisor is a free program from Schrock Innovations that monitors your hard drive's health and tells you if it's going bad. Download it for free at driveadvisor.com. Schrock Innovations has spent nearly 2 decades working to make your technology life easier, and the all-new SchrockInnovations.com is no exception. Now you can order new modular computers and solid-state laptops directly from our website, secure your computer with our virus-free guaranteed semantic endpoint software, find innovative new technologies like our modular storage devices, and get free help and tips. Take a look at the special section to find sales on one-of-a-kind items, display models, refurbished units, and our latest special offers. Swing by the Compute This page to watch TV segments and archived radio shows, or even get one-on-one help through the Schrock Desk. As always, we respect your privacy, so we secure our website with the latest encryption technology and only the most secure payment methods. You can pick up your purchases at any of our 3 service centers or have them shipped directly to your door. The new SchrockInnovations.com makes technology simple. It's what we do. Compute This Pro Tip 578. Technology is constantly changing, so how can you tell when the time has come to recycle your old outdated computer and invest in a new one? Experts have rules of thumb and formulas, but Schrock believes the answer is simple. You should replace your old computer when it can no longer do the things you need in a secure way. For example, you should not be using operating systems like Windows XP or Vista because they're no longer maintained by Microsoft and they're not secure. And if your computer cannot run Windows 10, it's probably time to begin saving for a replacement. If your existing computer requires a repair and that cost is 50% or more of the cost of a new computer, it might be time to consider a replacement. But keep in mind, additional costs like data transfers and important software you have to upgrade like genealogy software or Quicken. And also keep in mind that modern computers are engineered to last 18 months for a normal user. And don't worry, you are considered a normal user. Schrock modular PCs and solid-state laptops are specifically designed to last 4 to 6 years for that same normal user, saving your family money and time. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
All righty, welcome back to Compute This. Data Center Infrastructure Management, DCIM. This is what happens on Compute This when I have extra people in the studio that can look things up like random trivia because, you know, Data Center Infrastructure Management just screams, yo, dude, put my pictures in there. All right, 866-496-8772. Those are the numbers to join us on the program today. Ask a question, make a comment. We'll get you in the drawing for the $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Doug, you're next up on the program. Doug, how can I help you today on Compute This? Good morning.
Good morning, sir. First of all, I want to give you a tremendous attaboy. You've built 3 computers for us, done the cleaning many times, and also I need to say that if you fire Summer, I know you're being facetious, I would have to switch away from to somebody else. The employees you have had such a great customer interface. I try to remember all the names. I know Summer and I know Kyle, wasn't it? But
yep.
Great. Anyway, first of all, I want to say I'm an older guy. I'm not senile. I don't have dementia. I say that because this question I'm going to ask, you might say that's the stupidest question I've ever heard.
There is no such thing. Let me just stop you there, Doug. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I'll guarantee you if you are asking it, there are dozens of other people, just like back when you were in school. All the other kids have the same question. You're just the only one brave enough to raise your hand.
Okay. I just have a thing. First of all, and then also I listen to you every Sunday morning, and you scare me to death.
I try not to do that. I could do those shows, but...
No, the truth that you put out. Now, here's my question. Is this practical? Now, if I took if I just used my desktop for when I need to go on the internet, you know, and leave that as is and do stuff in there. But if I had a laptop, stay off the internet with it, you know, just enter my checkbook there, type some documents, do mundane things, just stay off the is it safe that way, or do they still find a way to get in through the Wi-Fi that I don't even know?
Well, here's the thing. Well, if you didn't have it on the internet, and you could just put it in airplane mode, and that would disable all the radios. And I mean, here's the thing: if you want to be paranoid about it, there's always a way. We had a story of, I don't know, a few months ago about how they use the microphone and the speakers and ultrasonic frequencies to log into computers at like tiny baud rates, like 960 kilobytes a second. I think that's what the probe that just flew past Pluto transmits at that speed. We launched it in the 70s. So I mean, but there's always a way to get in. Now the question is, does somebody really, really want to see your Quicken that badly? Maybe like, if you're Warren Buffett, they want to see your Quicken that badly. But I doubt he's using Quicken. Now, here's the thing. If you want to get offline, it's practical in that you can create documents. I spent a week at summer camp with my son. It was his first Boy Scout summer camp. So I went up to Minnesota for a week. And, it was a great time, but I was offline for the whole week. So like all these pro tips and spots you're hearing now, that's what I wrote those at camp in Minnesota by a lake. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I was sitting there thinking of pro tips and writing them down rather than just enjoying myself. I was thinking of you guys. I missed you. I missed you.
We missed you too.
I hate reruns. So anyway, but if I'm going to rerun, I'm going to give them some new content. So we got you new pro tips, all kinds of. Scott was loading them into the sound system, and he's like, I learned all kinds of new stuff. So basically, it is practical in that you can be productive, you can get stuff done. However, you are going to increasingly over time hit more and more roadblocks. I had a customer in my Lincoln Service Center that came in with a laptop, and I was working on it with him down there. He lives out in the rural area. He's internet's expensive. He says, I don't have I'm on Social Security. I don't have the money for it. So I don't have internet. I also don't have TV. So when I want to use the internet, I go to the library and get on there. And then, cause he came into the service center with it and it was like a patch monster. Like everything needed updating. And it was like, we just led the horse to the oasis or something. It was just sucking up all the bandwidth. Like, what is this computer doing? It hasn't had an update since its last maintenance checkup. Well, that's why. And he found he can't play his video games anymore because they all require an internet connection to make sure you're not cheating.
Okay.
So it's starting to become the point now where software assumes you will have an internet connection, as opposed to saying most people have one, but if you don't, you can do it this way. Almost all software now assumes you have an internet connection. In fact, you can't even get the new version of Windows unless you have a Microsoft account.
Sure.
So
in other words, I should keep my endpoint and Secure Updater up to date and I'm still fairly safe. And listen to you every Sunday.
Well, thank
for
you.
Any other tips. Is that about right?
That's about right, Doug. You're good to go. As long as you have it on the internet, you do have to have the endpoint and the Secure Updater. If you decide that you don't want to go, internet based, you can drop the security software because you're getting rid of the threat structure, but then you can never get it on the internet after that. In fact, if you have Secure Updater and endpoint and you decide to get off the internet, they're going to get really aggressive with you because they want updates. Endpoint needs its updates. Secure Updater wants to keep you safe. It's going to go off every 8 hours in your face telling you it can't connect to the internet. You'll know why it can't connect, but nevertheless, it'll be popping off on you. Thank you very much for the call, Doug. All right, 866-496-8772. Stephanie, you're next up on the show. How can I help you on Compute This?
Well, I have another dumb question.
Not dumb. I know your question. I have a call screener who wrote down what your question is, and a lot of people are asking that. I get this question in the service center all week long. So go ahead and ask.
I have the Lookout Security on my phone and tablet and stuff.
Good.
And I keep getting a little pop-up thing that says VPN is activated by Lookout Security. Tap here to disconnect or whatever.
Okay.
What is it, and do I want to do that?
All right, a VPN. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network.
Hang on, dumb it down.
That's all right. So Virtual Private Network. If you've been following news this week, you possibly heard that China just banned VPNs, and kind of quietly in the background, Russia also followed suit, which is kind of ironic. I was talking to Mark, who does a lot of our SEO, like our search engine marketing and stuff, and we use VPNs because Google wants to try to match you to the business that's closest to where you're at. So if we're trying to figure out, who ranks number one for computer repair, and we do a search from our shop, it's going to say, well, we're sure you want to see you in number one, so it shows us in number one, but it's not going to show Stephanie that where she's at. So we want to get a clean report. Well, one way we can get a clean report is we use like a server in Belarus somewhere and say, who's the best computer repair in Omaha? It's like, mirror, mirror on the wall. And it tells us. So that's what a virtual private network masks your location. Why is that important? It also prevents you, internet snoops from detecting what you're looking at online. So if you're using a virtual private network and you're on Cox or you're on Spectrum, they have no idea what you're looking at. They just see the traffic going out to other countries and coming back from weird countries, and it kind of scatters everything out. It's almost like an encryption, so that not even your internet service provider or the government can see what you're looking at. Hence, that's why China has banned them, because one of the biggest ways to get around the Great Firewall of China and see all that content that China doesn't want you to see, if you're a Chinese citizen, is to use a VPN. You can also watch Game of Thrones that way. That's probably where all the VPN business is going from anyway. Because, you got to watch that Game of Thrones. The episode got leaked. Did you hear about that? HBO got hacked and they leaked today's episode of Game of Thrones. So you can read it in, I think it's French subtitles, or you can just watch it tonight on HBO. It's your call. But anyway, if you have a VPN, you can download it. No one would know you did. So a virtual private network is nice for privacy and security. For the average home user, it is a complete overkill. I mean, if they're asking you to pay for it, I wouldn't pay for it unless you're really concerned. I mean, if you're really concerned about your privacy, and I hate to use the thing, if you're doing something you're concerned about people seeing, maybe you should have a VPN. But no, if you value your privacy and you have the disposable income to pay for a VPN, it's like $30-40 a month, then buy the VPN. Get it. The one that Norton's using and the one that Lookout's using, I've never personally used those before, but there is no inherent security increase. You're not going to be any safer from viruses or malware because you use a VPN. A VPN is purely for your data privacy. All right, thanks for the call, Stephanie. We appreciate it. We got to draw a winner of the $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Now, for these winner drawings, we use a very high-tech system for this. So I know you've never seen this before, Mark, but this is a super high-tech system that very rarely fails us. But, there's a first time for everything. All right, today's winner. Come on, that was a little funny. I don't even get a chuckle. $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate is Doug. Congratulations, Doug. You've got yourself $25 over at Schrock. Kathy, who we have desperately missed in the Lincoln Service Center, who will be back on Monday, will get you that certificate because no one else is qualified to send that email except for Miss Kathy. And yes, it is Miss Kathy. All right, guys, stay tuned for the After Schrock. We'll have that coming up here in just a second. And then tune in next week for another edition of Compute This. Also, the Omaha Morning Blend on Monday, 9:25. All right, we'll talk to you here in a minute. Tune in Facebook, facebook.com/Schrock Innovations, and we'll be back next Sunday. Thanks a lot.
"27 days until kickoff. Go Big Red." This is News Radio 1110 KFAB Omaha, Nebraska's news, weather, and traffic station.
From ABC News.
Levels are bad, good, or otherwise. They look a little low on my end here, but let me know what you think. So, all right. After Schrock, we had a question here. What was the question? We already have a question. You can talk. You don't have to be silent anymore. Yeah. Okay, so the router is dying once or twice a week? Gotcha. Okay, so when you have a wireless router that you have to power cycle frequently, everybody power cycles their router from time to time. I do too. But when you have to power cycle it really frequently, what that tells you is the router is starting to die. If you put your hand on those things, they get really hot, especially when they're working hard. They're basically like a little computer. So when you have to power cycle it, you unplug the power, you plug it back in, it takes a few seconds, comes back up, works for a while, then you have to do it again. That is a sign that the router is dying. I buy the good routers because we do a lot. You might imagine we do a lot of streaming in our house. So I'm buying like $300 routers, and I'll go through one about every 2 years. So it's pretty intense. I can change the angle here. Hold on a second, Mark. Now that we're just on Facebook. Oh yeah, I don't know what this is going to frame up like here. We'll have to get close, but there's a time delay.
I can switch to the OBS here, and we can take a look. There's Mark. There we go. Say hi, Mark.
Hey guys.
You're supposed to say hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Sorry. First time for everything.
All right. I'm not hearing anything. Winston says good audio. Thanks for sticking with us, Winston. All right. You know, what happened last week is I'm recording the show on the same computer that we're streaming the Facebook stream on. And what ended up happening was I said, okay, we're done with the show. I don't have to record it anymore. I'll get that processing time back by clicking stop on my recording, right? When I clicked stop on my recording, it did something to the microphone input within the computer that caused me to sound like, you know, Darth Vader and Satan had a baby. It was really bad. So I apologize for that. So any other questions? Now's the time to post them. I'm going to give a last call for questions here. We got one about the routers, good audio or good enough. Okay. I turned it up a little bit since then, Pete, so we'll get a little bit louder here. All right. Let's see. Papillion Service Center. We've got, we're going to be putting some banners up. We're debating, Mark, whether we should at the service center, the current one, should we put up, should we fill the whole windows with we're moving, like yellow construction-y kind of with circuit boards and stuff we're moving, so that people don't think we closed the Papillion Service Center down. On the other hand, in the new location, we were eating at Ollie and Hobbs over there at 84th and 370, and we're like, we need to get some banners up on this building saying we're coming. Because here I'm sitting in this restaurant eating, and I'm looking right at the building, and it's just an empty building. We got to put something up there to say, hey, we're coming, guys. We're going to be here soon. You can bring your computers to dinner with you and drop them off, because that's what everybody does.
We could do one of those mystery things, guess who's coming. We could put a sign
guess who's coming?
You know,
make it a mystery.
Yeah, something's happening here soon, so that we could.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. So we got that going on. We're going to be making some banners and stuff, maybe some vinyl for the windows there. Seriously, though, the Papillion Service Center is just barely out of queue right now. But Lincoln and Omaha are caught up with their maintenance stuff. So if you bought those maintenance certificates, go ahead and use them. Now, I didn't want to say this on the air, but we have a logistic thing where the show airs here on Sunday, and then it re-airs in Lincoln the following Saturday. So last week when I said, today is the last day for the maintenance sale, I wasn't thinking. So that means people in Lincoln yesterday heard, today is the last day for the maintenance sale. Then later in the show, I said, it ends Sunday at 5. So I had to leave it up on the website. When we stopped talking, we didn't mention it at all this week because we're not pushing it. But if you did miss out and you want to grab that certificate, there's 35 of you watching right now. If somebody wanted to get that certificate, you can go to the website at SchrockInnovations.com, click on shop specials, and you can buy a certificate, but it will be going offline at 5. What was really funny is the last time we had the special, Mark, we changed the price back to the regular price, but it didn't go out of the special section, and we had a lot of people come into the special section and buy it at the regular price. Yeah, so we were like, oh, we're going to have to call those people, or at least give them 2 certificates or something, you know? So anyway, so it's still at the sale price in there. You can go ahead and check that out if you'd like as well. All right. Am I forgetting anything, Mark? Best of Omaha.
Oh, yeah, it's Best of Omaha.
Yeah, we're about halfway through the voting period for Best of Omaha. So if you haven't done so, please go ahead and vote for us in the Best of Omaha. We usually do well in the Best of Omaha. We win one of the top 3 spots. Every single year, Best Buy wins number 1 every year. And it's a name recognition contest. We get that. We don't drop 10 grand a week in newspaper marketing, so we're not going to win. But boy, doesn't mean I don't have to try. So if you could ask your friends to vote for us as well, it means the world to us. Actually, the guys try not to let on because they're all guys, But when we win that award, it means a lot to them. And they don't all hear the show every week. They don't see me asking you to vote. But when they win it, it's like an affirmation of what they do. Because for all the customers who are appreciative of the help we provide, there's always that one person that just ruins your entire day. That just calls in and is like, rah, 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 you guys are a bunch of jerks. And you're just like, can I help you, sir? And they just want to be mad. But so those guys bring us down a little bit. But when you guys call in, like Summer, we got to tell Summer to listen to the show this week. He's going to be thrilled that customer was so. He said he was going to leave if we got rid of her. Does she know I was thinking about getting rid of her? Maybe we shouldn't ask her to listen. Yeah.
More than that, us going to the Best of Omaha, like those who don't listen to the show all the time or those who don't talk to clients, it's a positive affirmation about how well you guys like us. And man, I love those days at the Baxter Arena.
We do the Best of Omaha trade show.
Yeah,
we need to get a new background for our trade show this year.
We're gonna have to get on that. Those take a few months to get.
We also need a new
Lotto Schrock.
Lotto Schrock, yeah.
We need a new gimmick.
Yeah.
We need a new shtick. We can't recycle the old one yet. It hasn't been long enough. All right. So last call for questions. You can post them online, facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. You obviously know that if you're watching because you're there, but you can post the question in the comments section and we'll answer it for you. One last request while I'm begging for things. If you could share this. Share this with your friends and your family. If you share it on your timeline right now, it exposes new people to the show. It gets new people from out of state involved in the show. One of the reasons that we're doing everything that we're doing with the program with Facebook and unifying with the 800 number and getting down to one broadcast a week is we are going to take this show and we are going to put it in multiple cities, which is going to be good for the program because it's going to bring in new blood and new callers. You heard 2 people today call in and say they thought they had stupid questions. Those stupid questions are the stupid questions that everybody has. So ask them. And so as we get new people who come in, they ask those same basic questions because a lot of times what happens is after doing this for a decade or two, all the everyday listeners, we all develop a level of education that leads us to say, hey, we know our stuff now. We know more than the average person does. And so we sometimes forget that the newbie is listening and then they step in and they're like, whoa, this guy's like way out in the weeds. I'm going back to Kim Commando, We can't have that. So we want to get it into new cities and get new listeners that take part of the show. So if you could share this, it would mean a lot to us. It would mean a lot. All right. So update on the Allen Band. Jody, I'm glad you asked. All right. So the Allen Band, I received an interesting phone call from a home healthcare provider. As you know, we've talked about this in the past. The Allen Band situation is putting a cellular radio in a device basically means we're making a new cell phone. To tell you how hard this is to do, to make your own cell phone, basically. Apple just released something this week that they're going to release the first iWatch with its own 4G LTE transceiver. So you won't have to pair it with an iPhone anymore. It'll be its own standalone device. Apple is just now talking about doing that. They were talking about doing it last year, but they had to delay it by a year. Why did they have to delay it by a year? FCC approval. The FCC has to approve new devices when they're made. And if we make our own cell phone, we're expecting to sell 300 to 500 units of this, before that's the range of our reach, basically, with it. It's a very specialized device for a special situation. The problem is we're not going to sell enough of them to make back the $400,000 it would cost us to shepherd it through the FCC compliance. So we asked on the show a few weeks back, what would you guys think if we got rid of the cellular radio? We left in the Wi-Fi, we left in the Bluetooth, so you could still pair it with a smartphone, or if you were using it at home, you could hook it up with your home Wi-Fi, but it just wouldn't have that cellular component. So if you left the house, if you don't have it paired to another phone, even the new flip phones have Bluetooth. So if you don't have it paired to a phone, it's just not going to alert anybody. And the overwhelming response that we got was no, we want the cellular radio. So that leaves us in this quandary where I'm not going to be able to deliver a cellular radio-based device for the $60,000 that we raised. And that's on me because I didn't realize it was going to cost so much. In my head, there's an idea, the technology's there, put the technology in place and release it. I've never done anything where the government has literally shut my train down before, and this is a first. So we're still considering going forward without that. But I got a call from a home healthcare place. We have a conference call set up for Monday. And there may be some interest there in putting some money into the Allen Band. So basically, what's going to happen with it? Right now, we're going to move forward with it, and we're going to move forward without the cellular radio. And if some people have a problem with that, we're just going to, unfortunately, have to live with it. But it's better than not moving forward with anything and ending up with nothing, to be honest. All right, so Jim asks, he's going to Ireland on vacation. Does he need to do anything special to protect his computer? All right, so to protect your computer in Ireland, Ireland. Aside from don't get drunk and give someone the password, don't spill beer in your keyboard.
That's always good advice.
Yeah, that's pretty stable stuff. That's not Ireland specific.
Right.
Yeah, so no, there's nothing super special you have to do. Your endpoint, your secure updater protect you no matter where you're at. The one thing that I will throw out there is you're going to be on people's Wi-Fis, I'm sure, over there. So when you're in a hotel on a Wi-Fi, keep in mind that whatever you're doing can be monitored by the owner of the Wi-Fi network, unless you're using encrypted connections. So if you use Gmail, I think all Gmail connections are encrypted now, so you should be okay. Facebook, all Facebook connections are encrypted now, so you should be okay. But if you're sending email to your Cox.com email or something, keep in mind when you're using an open email like that, if you're on a Wi-Fi network, or even if you're at Panera and doing it, that's wide open and people can hear what you're saying. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, no, there's nothing super special you have to do. Mike Gee wants us to go on Shark Tank. Yeah, Shark Tank's overrated, man. I don't know if you do some Googling and behind the scenes of what happens to people who go on Shark Tank, you won't want to go on Shark Tank. It's one of those things where your dream becomes your nightmare all at the same time. So, yeah, because here's the thing: Shark Tank's going to look at it and say, "Well, it's not viable for you. Why is it viable for me? If it's not viable for your money, why is it viable for my money?" And the answer is, well, we need bigger marketing, right? Well, why don't you just sell the idea to another company? Well, because they won't do the monitoring for free. Well, maybe that's because the business model says it doesn't work, and maybe you shouldn't be doing it for free either. Yeah, so Shark Tank, they have their place, but I don't know if you've ever eaten at E-Creamery. They were on Shark Tank. They didn't take the money. Now you can eat ice cream at E-Creamery, so works out. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up here. Thanks for staying tuned to the Aftershock. We'll be back again next Sunday, 7 a.m. is when you can call in live to the show. Otherwise, this 866 number goes live to the service center. You can call and say hi to Kathy on Monday. She'll be back in. We missed her desperately. And we have no idea what Kathy does until she takes a week off. And she was glamping. She was glamping in a trailer. So in Minnesota, she was like literally 60 miles from where I went camping. So it's like, I do it in a tent for a week because, Kathy goes in the trailer with the hairdryer and everything, and she's doing it for a week there. But you can give Kathy a hard time about her glamping trip when she gets back. But otherwise, Morning Blend is going to be on tomorrow. I totally forgot. I was going to say usually I'll tease what I'm going to talk about on the show there, but I totally forgot what I was going to talk about. I thought it'd be embarrassing for me to admit that on air, so I probably should. Oh damn! Did I just say something about that? I just said, see, I can't keep anything straight. All right, we're going to be talking about extended warranties on the Morning Blend. And I know that sounds really like ho-hum boring, but if you've ever been through the checkout line and do you want the protection plan on that? When should you say yes and when should you say no? Never get it on video games. That's dumb. But lawnmowers, for example, should you get the extended warranty on a lawnmower? Computers, obviously, should you get the extended warranty on a computer? There are times to say yes and there are times to say no. There are things that are covered by most extended warranties, and there are also things that are exempted because Grandpa always told you the extended warranties are a scam, and a lot of them are. You just got to figure out which ones are which, and we're going to tell you about that on the Morning Blend. So tune in for that, 9:25 on KMTV Channel 3. If you can't tune in for that because you're outside of the Omaha metro area, this guy right here will be posting it live to, well, not live, but close to live, sort of live to Facebook. Yeah. I thought about doing a Facebook Live with my phone on the table, but it's kind of they're a TV station.